Hello and welcome to my next video tutorial where today we're going to be talking about how you reference your work in the IB and the stuff that you submit to the IBO. Let's talk then first about what is referencing, what do we mean by referencing. And it's where you cite your sources, and it's a really important part of any academic writing that you'll do, both within school and if you go into university. It lets you acknowledge the ideas of other people, and it helps you to not be accused of plagiarism. So it also demonstrates from an academic standpoint that you've read research that gives you a background to the ideas that you are talking about. And it also gives you evidence for the statements that you're going to make. For example, if you state that Red Bull decreases reaction time, you want to have some evidence for that. Just like you would in a court of law, if you said you were innocent of a crime, you would have to provide some evidence to back up your opinions or your point of view. We're going to look at where to reference within your work, and there's two places where you need to provide a reference. You need to provide a reference list or a bibliography at the end of your work, but you also need to provide a reference within the text of your work. So this is called an in-text citation. So let's talk first about the in-text citation. What we mean by that is you can reference ideas and thoughts or paraphrased work that has come from other people within the text of your work. And this shows where those other people's ideas have been integrated with your own ideas. And there's two different types of doing that. So we can use a direct quotation, that is repeating verbatim the words exactly as they appear in another book or article or website. We can also paraphrase, so I could state in general the findings of a particular investigation or a particular study without listing word for word exactly what they've said. So it can convey the general findings of a study. Let's look at paraphrasing then. This is used quite commonly in academic work, probably more so than direct quotes. They tend to account for sort of less than 10% of your actual written word count, but paraphrasing is quite common. Your sentence can be structured in different ways, and depending on how you structure your sentence, it'll depend on exactly how you cite the work in it. For example, we can say Moores et al., and you'll notice that I've used et al., and that means that there's more than three or more authors to this piece of work. So if Moores and Smith had worked together, it'd be Moores and Smith 2015, so this is the date that we published the work. But because there's three authors or more, we can use Moores et al. 2015. So those are the authors. Found that there was a significant reduction in 60-meter sprint time as a result of consuming Red Bull. And notice I've also put in there the significance of that finding. So that's significant to the 95% confidence interval. The other way of doing it is we can reference at the end. So I could rephrase the sentence and say a significant reduction in 60-meter sprint times, and then I've given the significance there, so p equals less than 0.05, has been found as a result of consuming Red Bull. Moores et al., and I'm using that again because there's more than three authors to that piece of work, and that was published in 2015, and Davis and Smith 2012. So here's an example. If I've only got two authors, I can use Davis and Smith and then just put both of the names in. And then also including, notice the date afterwards that each of those pieces of work was produced. And this will link up to your reference list at the end of your piece of work. So I should be able to search the alphabetical reference list at the end and find Davis and Smith and their work that was published in 2012, and that will be relevant to this particular piece of information here. Now let's say Davis and Smith produced more than one article in 2012. I can use 2012A, 2012B, and so each different piece of work can be referenced as a separate article that was published within 2012. If I'm using direct quotes, I'm going to use double quotation marks. For example, The effect of caffeine consumption produced a faster reaction time to the start stimulus. So that's a direct quote taken from this piece of work that Moores et al. Did in 2015. And because it's a direct quote, I can give a page reference for that direct quote. So if I'm saying a general statement like I was paraphrasing before, I don't necessarily have to give a page reference because it's a general finding from the entire article, the entire investigation. But if I'm using a direct quote, there's a specific page that that quote will come from. So if it's over 2 pages, like it is here, I can use PP 141 to 142. So that means it's over the change from page 141 to 142. If it's just 1 page, I would just use 1p, so it would be P141. Now, in order to create a reference list, the easiest way to do it is to use a website, and citethisforme.com is a pretty easy way of doing that. It'll automatically format your reference list for you. So I'm going to work through an example of how we can do that. So let's have a quick look at what we've got. So this is citethisforme.com. This is the website that I use a lot. And up here on the left, we've got a mixture of inputs we can put in there. So I've been looking at the effect of Red Bull on 60-meter sprint time. And what I've done is I've looked at the effect of Red Bull on reaction time, and I've come up with 2 articles that would imply that there is a reduction in reaction time when you take Red Bull. Not necessarily to do with sprinting, but we can extrapolate that if there's a reduction in reaction time in anything else, then we would also see that during sprinting. This would provide evidence for the fact, or support for the idea that that we would also see this effect in sprinting. So I found this article here, so acute effects of glucose energy drink on behavioural control, and this is the abstract here in the middle, and we can see that the results indicated that compared with placebo and non-drink conditions, energy drink doses decreased reaction times on the behavioural control task. There you go. So if I wanted to, I could find a direct quote from further down the article, but I've got the basic idea that it is supporting my theory that it will reduce reaction time. I also found another article as well, so the effects of Red Bull energy drink on human performance and mood, and we can see here that where it says significant improvements in mental performance included choice reaction time. So there we go. There's another article which supports my assumption that consuming Red Bull will decrease reaction time or make you react quicker to a stimulus. So how are we going to cite these? So what I can do is cut and paste from the first article the title, and open Cite This For Me. Now, because it's a journal article, I can just add that in there, cut and paste it in, and click search, and it should come up with the title of my article. Now, there we are, that's the one, and all I have to do is click on it, and it appears in my bibliography. Now, if I want to use an in-text citation, I can just click on this button here, where it says copy and paste in-text citation, and then that will automatically copy and paste the correct in-text citation. So let's look at how I'm structuring my argument. So this is my design template that I've been using, and I've got my predictions and my annotated sketch graph there. So I've said so far, I've predicted Red Bull will reduce the time taken to complete a 60-meter sprint. Energy drinks are known to contain a number of different ingredients, including sugar and caffeine, so I've got a bit of an introduction about why I'm looking into this problem in the first place. Reaction time is critical to success over short distances such as 60 metres. I believe caffeine could help in increasing the speed of a sprinter over 60 metres as a result of decreasing reaction time to the starting gun. So here's where I put my evidence or my references to back up what I'm saying. So these predictions have been reinforced by past findings including Howard and Markanowski 2010. Okay, so it's an in-text citation. And I'm using the names within the sentence, so I don't need the parentheses around them. And they found that results indicated that compared to the placebo and no drink conditions, the energy drink doses decrease reaction time on the behavioural control task. Now that is a direct quote, So I have to phrase it like this. So it's in double quotation marks, and then I've put parentheses around where I've got that source from. I can then go on to say Alford et al. So this is the other article that I found. Alford et al. 2001 also found significant improvement in choice reaction time following the consumption of Red Bull. Now, what I get, so say for example I go on to Cite This For Me, and I cut and paste that in-text citation, automatically copies it for me. And I'll show you what I get. I just get the citation like that. So that's how it should look within the text. Okay, and that's how I've just cut and paste that into here where I've used my in-text citations. The other thing that I can do on Cite This For Me is I can add in websites, and I can add in books and other sources as well. The other thing is if I go into my journal article and they can't find it, I can also have this option to add it manually. So I need to know things like the author's first name and last name, the year it was published, the title of the article, the journal, the volume number, issue number, and page numbers. And that will automatically produce, again, a reference which will look in the right format. Websites, again, that will include all the information. So it'll include, amongst other things, the web address, but also it'll include when you actually access the website. So that's very important as well. So I can upload that into there, and it'll put the citation in the bottom for me. So let's check my other reference. Copy that, put it into Cite This For Me search. And it comes up, that's the first one. So I click on it, and it automatically puts it into alphabetical order here. Yeah. So what I can do is I can then go up to this button here, and I can copy and paste my references. So copy and paste. So these are now my references that I'm going to put at the end of my piece of work. So this is the work that I've done, and I'm going to put my references at the end of it. Let's take the size down a little bit. So there we go. So we can see I've now got at the bottom of there, I've got my references, my in-text citations, and I've got my references below just here. And that is how I would correctly reference work that I've used in my scientific explanation in my investigation design. Now the same thing applies if I'm writing a conclusion and evaluation and I'm referencing other people's work there. I would actually, if I was producing the entire investigation, I would put the references at the bottom, so at the end of the entire investigation. I wouldn't just put them at the bottom here. But because we're only looking at the moment at doing a design, I want you to reference within this section here. So if you have any more questions, there's a really useful website that I've found, and it's the Leeds University, my old university website, which has got like a little quiz page. So if you need extra help with referencing and things like that, you can open it up. And it talks you through referencing a lot of things that we've discussed already here. And then at the end, there's a little quiz to test your knowledge. So that's really useful as well. Any questions, as usual, send me an email. Thanks very much.